it is indeed a great honor and privilege to be part of these talks. And I must say, I was just blown away by the wonderful stories that Dr. Baljeet Singh, shared with us. And like him, I cannot wait to hear the other speakers because they're far more accomplished than I am, Dr. Garewal and Dr. Khalsi. The whole the whole sort of purpose of this is to be able to share our experiences and to be able to figure out what's important in life. What is it that makes life worth living? So I want to ask you, does anyone want to live a long, happy, fulfilling life?
I know I definitely do.
All right, wonderful. Snehpal?
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. So what is it that makes life worth living? There have been many studies in the medical literature to look at longevity. What is it that makes people live longer, allows people to have less risks of heart disease or stroke or cancer, or, what is that the one thing that allows people to do that? And that is, it is the richness, the depth, the quality and the quantity of their social relationships. And this is really important because, when Guru Sahib gave us our form and our function as Sikhs, he gave us the Sangat, he gave us the ability to live in Grihast and still attain the divine realization, the self-realization that, he and I are one. But it gave us also this framework, this huge opportunity to be part of a giving, receiving network of people. And so if you look at, a lot of the diseases that affect us as human beings, these are the chronic, long-term, non-communicable diseases. You know about them as well as I do. I don't need to list them. The one thing that is an underlying factor to all of that is stress. Stress causes tension, causes pain, causes emotional upsets, emotional instability. It can cause depression as well. And all of this is activated through, one of the main systems in our body is the HPA axis, the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, which, causes the release of a stress hormone called cortisol. And then the other stress axis is the sympathoadrenal system, and these two, although they allow us to respond in a crisis, fight or flight response, but most of our lives are really not living through that crisis, that life and death situation. Most of our lives are, traffic, or somebody didn't talk to me well, or I had an argument with my wife or my mother or whoever, in my environment. Those are the chronic, low-grade, frequent stresses that seem to add up and take their toll in terms of causing high blood pressure and, type 2 diabetes and things like that. Of course, lifestyle also matters. But the most potent inhibitor of the HPA axis in our body is oxytocin. Oxytocin is also a hormone which is released in the brain. And how do you release oxytocin? In the past, it was thought, oxytocin is only important for, labor and delivery at the end of pregnancy or for breastfeeding. No. Oxytocin is a very important hormone. And what it does, it's the most potent inhibitor of stress. So what do you do when you're really stressed out? You go and you talk to people. If a friend of yours, if a brother or a sister is hurting really deeply, you go give them a hug. And in giving them a hug, that releases oxytocin. Or you give somebody a pat on the back, or just, be with them, that release, and it immediately lowers down the level of stress that they are feeling. So relationships are very, very important. And that's why, I just admire the work that you're doing, is bringing people together, forming relationships, forming these networks, because this is the lifeline that will allow you to be productive, happy, meaningful lives that you want to live. And so I think that has come through in every situation. Like Dr. Baljeet Singh said, it's amazing how in the moment when you have what may be considered a challenge, just the right influences will show up. Except that you need to be aware of it. You need to be awake enough to spot those opportunities within the crisis. So, and if you treat every opportunity, every crisis as an opportunity for self-growth, for self-perfection, self-mastery, creating that sense of mastery, I can do this. Then that becomes your source of, progressing and developing in all aspects of your personality, in all aspects. So the other thing that, Sikhs are very, very blessed with is this concept of chardi kala. Never ever entertain any self-pity or self sympathy. It doesn't, never entertain the thought, like Dr. Baljeet Singh said, that, oh, I'm a victim of this. No, once you take on a victim role, then you've suddenly handed over your power, your divine innate power, which the whole universe feeds into. You handed that over to somebody else, and then you're left with nothing. You're left impotent. But if you say, listen, this is a challenge, or this is an opportunity to grow, to really learn from the mistakes that I may have made, or to learn from creating more innovative approaches to overcome this particular barrier, and that really helps us. The one thing that really helps us is having this positive feeling of chardi kala. Of course, the important part is to have that faith deep within yourself that the Guru has placed within each one of us. The Guru, you see, many people are born in many different communities, and they spend a major portion of their adult life looking for a Guru. We are blessed that even from the moment we were conceived, we have a Guru who guides us, who shows us, who helps us. And at the end of the day, who revels in accomplishing through us. I'm constantly reminded of Guru Arjan Dev Ji Maharaj. What an amazing, amazing personality he was. Not only did he compile the entire Guru Granth Sahib Ji, the Adi Granth, but he also built the Harmander Sahib. And at the end of it all, he says, Tera kita jato nahi, mainu jo kitoi, main nirgune are ko gun nahi, ape taras piya. What extreme, Like this, he handed it all, the glory is all of, handed it back to Vaheguru, to the divine within us. So I may be going off on many different tangents, but I just want to bring it all this together in terms of what is that important ingredient in our lives. It is how much love, how much compassion we can share in every moment. You know, at the end of the day, when we decide to give up this physical frame, you know, when we're done with this ego or mind body, you know, complex that we have taken ourselves to be, at one point we'll have to drop all this behind. And at that point, it will not matter what awards you had won, how much wealth you accumulated, how many houses you had, cars, bank balance, you name it. Your possessions, positions, and perquisites is going to have no meaning at all. Nothing, zero, zilch. What is valuable, what is important in that moment in time is how much love did you share in every moment of now. That is what is going to be the most important ingredient in our life. And you may think, oh, love is very different from what the Western, thing makes it out to be. Sort of love basically is taken in a very physical manner of sex, of lust, and people mix up, you know, love and lust. But our gurus have shown us incredibly, wise ways of being able to share love. So let me talk a little bit about love. Deep down, we all know our heart refuses to accept that sexuality is the only purpose of love. It is not. There is a deeper, much more enduring meaning of love. And what is that meaning? People have talked about it. Guru Sahib, Guru Nanak Dev Ji, has most eloquently described the pain, the longing for the divine, and it is a unique form of yoga that is only present in the 6 scriptures. I would encourage, it's called Nirmal Yoga. Nirmal Yoga is where the Jiva Atma is the bride and the Paramatma is the bridegroom. And then this longing, deep pangs of love. So Walter Scott, he said, love rules the court, the camp, the grove, and men below and saints above. For love is heaven and heaven is love. But love is much more beyond that. Love is actually an ingredient in the creation of the cosmos. So you may ask, why is that? How do we know that? Because physics and astrophysics and spirituality have been at loggerheads about this as to how to solve this question of what brought about creation. Everybody talks about the Big Bang theory, and it's the hypothesis of the primeval atom, et cetera, to give this cosmological model. But it doesn't reveal what was before the Big Bang. So before, just as a very quick insight of this, and this is again present in Guru Granth Sahib. I'm not coming out with this in any original sort of way. Before the universe came into creation, there was no time, there was no space, there was no galaxy, no Milky Ways, no light or sound or any kind of matter. What was there was pure awareness, pure divine awareness. And this divine awareness wanted to know itself. So if it is the like Guru Sahib said, Ik Oankar, Ik Oankar, we say it 100 times every day. Many of us say it 100 times. But how do we understand what it is? It's not very well explained in many of the commentaries that I've come across. Ik meaning the one awareness, the one that beyond which there is nothing. That's just the ik. Oankar, through Om, he became from Nirakar to Sakar. So that is what the Kar means. Om is what happened in between. So this divine awareness wanted to know itself. And so it created this primordial energy, which the Western people have called it Big Bang. But this was a limitless, like the divine himself, limitless energy. And what does energy do? It expands, it propels, And so this energy starts expanding before there was time or space or anything. This energy starts expanding. But what is the core nature of the divine? It is love. What does love do? It brings together, it attracts. And so between this propulsion and this attraction, and propulsion and attraction, there was a vibration that was created. And that vibration is Om. That Om has been, talked about in every religion. In the Bible, it says, in the beginning was the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning, and all the Word became flesh and dwelt amongst us. So this has been talked about in the in the various Hindu scriptures as well. In the Nadbin Upanishad, it says the sound principle of Om becomes manifest as Prakriti or nature, and various other. Even the Islamic texts talk about Amin. Amin is called the Sot-e-Sarmadi, the divine song, and in the Quran, Prophet Muhammad says the 14 regions were made by the kalma being the Om, the primordial sound. So this vibration gets created, and this vibration is changeless. This vibration is continuous. So in this vibration, the divine inserted just the idea of change. In something that is changeless, he inserted the idea of change. And from that idea of change, time was born. And in this vibration, which is indivisible, he inserted just the concept of divisibility. And from that, space was born. So the one, the Om, the time, and the space, and then creation started. So really, it is a ingredient of our cosmic creation. But not only that, once creation was formed, it became the primal force in nature. Basically, how is it the primal force in nature? I'll ask you, what is nature made up of? It's made up of atoms and molecules, okay? And the atom has, a nucleus with protons and neutrons, and there are these electrons rotating around it. But those protons are held very tightly in this very, very, very tiny space called the nucleus. What is holding that together? Because protons are similarly charged particles, they would easily just repel each other and fall apart. Every nucleus is being held together. That force that holds them together is actually love. And that is what, is that attractive force of the universe. The universe is expanding. That has been proven after the Hubble telescope and so on. But what is it that holds this universe together? It is that love. And we see that in nature. We see that in nature all around us. Because love expands, like the universe. There is nothing is added from the outside. The change comes from within. Have you ever watched, a flower blossom? It's blossoming from within. It is that love that expands to blossom that flower. That the leaf grows from within. You can't stick anything onto it from. It is that love. So all forms of nature are meant to blossom and expand. Simply, And those who don't believe in it, okay, did you ever see the laws that make a seed grow into a plant? Yet you don't know of that, but you have the faith that I'm planting this seed, it will grow and it will give me a harvest. The other thing is love is selfless. Nature teaches us that constantly. Does any mango tree consume the mangoes? No, it's there. Does any river flow for itself? No, it's just for giving it away. Love is giving and forgiving. What is ego? What is self? It's getting and forgetting. And so basically love is selfless, but love is also forgiving. You can damage nature as much as you want. In fact, so many environmentalists have found that, and this pertains to the question that came about the environmental degradation in Punjab. The moment you start loving the nature around you and taking care of it, it rebounds very, very rapidly. The land is there not to be exploited, but to be nurtured, to be cared for lovingly. One of the most eloquent pieces that Dr. Jane Goodall wrote about, she said that when you visited Nagasaki, and after the atom bomb was dropped, it thought that everyone, the scientists predicted that nothing is going to grow there for 30 years. Well, that's so wrong. That was so, once people came out and they started having the social interactions, and then everything changed. That whole environment, which was so toxic, became a vibrant environment. Let me give you an example. Did you know that the River Jordan supplies water to the Sea of Galilee? And it also supplies water to the Dead Sea. But when water comes into the Sea of Galilee, it flows out through that, and it creates a vibrant fauna and flora all around it, with communities and so on. Everyone benefits. When water comes into the Dead Sea, it doesn't flow out. It just stays there. Giving is what makes life happen and makes. So I feel a loving, giving person will live in a generous and loving universe. A hostile person who considers themselves a victim will always live in a hostile world. So everyone that we meet is actually our own mirror. As a pediatrician, I've been in practice for 40 years. I've watched children, and that's the best part of my life, really, taking care of children. I work in the ICU. I'm an ICU physician, and children come critically ill at death's door, and they leave, smiling, sometimes skipping and hugging and giving us, all the love that no one can pay me enough to give up this job, because I get so much out of. So in this, there was actually a meet for handicapped children, and they were supposed to run this, 100-meter race, and 10 children start, and then the flag went down, and the children started running. One of the children fell down and scraped their knee and started crying. And the other 9 children turned around, they linked hands with this child, and they all walked to the finish line together. That's love. That is where, that is why love is actually the glue that holds family and community and society together. So, it is the basis for our character. When you have a loving thought, that thought is truth. When you have loving action, that action is righteousness, right conduct. When you have love as a feeling, it causes peace. when you have love as a deep understanding, it will lead to non-violence. You cannot hurt anyone, because that is what love. And so for the young people, I think there is a lot of confusion between what is love and what is lust. And perhaps, that needs to be, in love, every object, even a stone, becomes alive. The trees start speaking to you. All of creation flourishes in love. But any obsession which is devoid of love becomes lust. And even in lust, even a living being is a mere object for your pleasure. You want to use people like objects. And so there's a huge difference between the sky and the earth, that kind of a difference. Love focuses on the whole, on the oneness, the togetherness. Lust focuses on just the individual. Love brings about sacrifice, about accommodation for each other, compassion. Lust brings about violence, about aggression. In lust, you want to grab and you possess, but in love, you want to give, you want to surrender, you want to dissolve yourself and your needs. So what in a loving person will say, I'm here to give whatever you want. In lust, no, I'm here to take whatever I can get. So there is always this this mix-up, confusion between what is love and what is lust. Yes, the union between a male and a female is a celebration of the love, which is that deep sense of oneness, togetherness that they have achieved. And so, really, that is that should and is the basis of all our relationships. Like Dr. Baljeet saying, my wife and I, my wife's name is Itinder Kaur Anand. And she and I have enjoyed, 37 years of marriage. We have 2 children. Our daughter is Amrit Kaur, and our son is Tej Pratap Singh. And they are, they're both in Sikhi. They're both very much connected to the Guru. And my wife and I still share an intimacy that we shared at the beginning of our relationship, because it was a relationship between equals. There was no hierarchy. There was no, me first. No, that's the key thing. In relationships, in true relationships, they're always between equals. There's always giving into the relationship. You never ever think about what can I get out of it. No, that's not the basis. That's transactional. That's a contract, a sauda that you're doing. It's not even a sacha sauda, it's a kacha sauda, according to what Guru Nanak Dev Ji say. And so, one has to be careful. You have to build those relationships, particularly the intimate ones. Taking an ego, or taking a stand, or being obsessed with your own selfish sort of needs is not going to work. Or taking someone for granted is not going to work. If you find imperfections in your life partner, that's the wrong place to look. The reason why you find that imperfection, it's in you. In someone who's so close to you, if you find any imperfections, the need to change them, no, that imperfection is in you, and you have to question yourself. What are my expectations? Why do I have these expectations? And these expectations are false. They're for getting rather than giving. So when 2 people work at giving into a relationship, it becomes so beautiful. It becomes, the ik atma do surata, what Guru Sahib had said in Gurbani. And every day we are very grateful We don't grumble. We are grateful for having this opportunity to know ourselves better through the relationships that we have.